Hey, listen, today we're going to talk about two terms that you're probably going to see on the state exam, so I really want you to know this. Pay attention to this. Let me break it down for you. Now, we talked about this before as far as what it takes to make it in the real estate career, right? We talked about RAD. Think reasonable, stay active, and delegate. Delegate to who? Delegate to 10. T-E-N, 10. And the first T is for the title company. E is escrow, N is the NHD company. But that title company is crucial because that title company is going to help your buyers decide on how to take title on a home. So it's going to be very, very crucial that you don't give too much information to your buyers when they're buying these properties as far as taking title, because that's not your forte. You're not a master at that. You're a master at negotiating properties. You with me? Nice and simple. Your job isn't to give title advice. That's why the title company is there. So delegate those title questions to the title company. However, I want you to know something about it. And the most important part to know about it is how most people take title when they do purchase property. How do they take title? Already, here it comes. There's two ways that are the most common ways on taking title to property here in the state of California. The most popular one when it comes to married couples is joint tenants / right of survivorship. Bold that sucker. The other term is going to be tenancy in common. So now we got two. We got joint tenancy versus tenancy in common. Damn, they even sound the same. Vanilla versus French vanilla. Ice cream, is there a difference? Well, sure as hell there's a difference. So let's break it down. They sound similar, but they're completely different. So let's start off with joint tenancy, right of survivorship. Let's slow this pace down. Not as slow as molasses, but slow enough that you're gonna understand. Nice and simple. Ready? Here we go. You got a couple. They own 50-50 on this property. 50% for the husband, 50% for the wife. Got that? Now why? Now when it comes to joint tenancy, remind yourself that here in the state of California, the husband's gonna own 50% and the wife's gonna own 50%. Now there's a beautiful clause in there. There's a beautiful clause that's called right of survivorship. And what that means is this. That means this husband and wife team that just bought their dream house are gonna own this property till eternity, until they sell it together. Now, while they're living there together, that beautiful clause of right of survivorship is gonna take effect. And what that means is this. That means when one of them passes, when one of them dies, their 50% goes straight immediately to the surviving partner. No probate necessary. It saves a headache. It's understood in that initial title agreement that the minute one of them passes, their portion goes over to the surviving spouse. Boom, done. Joint tenancy, right of survivorship. Now it doesn't have to be husband and wife. It could be 4 people involved. It could be 5, could be 3. But let me give you an example of 4 people. 4 people decide to buy a property. Nice and simple. And they all want to be on title at the same time with the same interest in the same possession. Joint tenancy. And they want it to be right of survivorship. Now, what happens when one of the 4 dies? There's 3 remaining. Well, that one that passed away, his 25% will be divided amongst the 3 surviving members. Now they go from owning 25% to owning what? Do the math. Yeah, 33%. And then another one dies, leaving 2 surviving owners. Those 2 remaining survivors, owners, now it's 50-50. And eventually, another one passes, and there's just one sole survivor who now owns 100% of the property. Joint tenancy, key term, right of survivorship. You got it? Nice and simple. Key factor here, what you're probably going to see on the state exam is the 4 factors that involve joint tenancy, right of survivorship. And that's going to be PITT, P-I-T-T. Possession, interest, time, and all on title. Done. Now, we're going to duke it out with joint tenancy. Got it? Now, what is joint tenancy then? How is joint tenancy any different? It's a lot less complicating, and I'll tell you why. Because joint tenancy, you can jump ship. What does this mean? Let me remind you. Joint tenancy, you're all in it together until one of them slowly passes away, next one passes away, next one. We boil down to 1. So when it comes to tenancy in common, a whole different ballgame. These 4 individuals who purchased this property, let's assume that they all brought in their own share to buy this property. Owner number 1 brought in 70% of the finances to purchase. Owner number 2 brought in 10%. Owner number 3 brought in 10%. And owner number 4 brought in 10%. So we have unequal shares in the property. Ownership. You got one guy owning 70%. You got 3 other guys owning 10% each. Totally different. As compared to what? Yeah, joint tenancy, which is what? Equal shares. When it comes to tenancy in common, the only thing we have in common, ladies and gentlemen, is that we all possess the property. In fact, time isn't even a factor here. Because the guy who has 70% ownership can say, you know what, I'm selling my portion, and he has a right to do so. We're only tenants in common as long as we own the property and we have the right to sell it whenever the hell we want to sell it. Can't do that when it comes to joint tenancy, right of survivorship. Joint tenancy, there's a lot of moving parts. A lot of moving parts. Owner number 4 could sell tomorrow. And guess what? When he sells it, you now have a new member in that 4-member team. Number 2 can say, I'll sell mine 3 years from now. And he can. Whenever the hell he wants. He could will it, he could sell it, he can give it away. 4 different owners, 4 different rights to do what they want with their share. The good thing is that they all own a piece of the pie. They all own a piece. Now, mind you, they're different pieces. Some are larger, some are smaller, but they all have one common thing. What's that? Ownership of the property. Different shares of the property. Let's go back to joint tenancy. Not in joint tenancy, they don't. In joint tenancy, equal shares. Equal shares. And that's the major difference. Hey, listen, we talked about PIT when it comes to joint tenancy. Check out other acronyms we have that'll help you with the state exam. Check out this video here. You're gonna love it. It's gonna help you out. Why not? Go for it. See you next week.